Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever and wherever you are. My name is Anna Rochelle, and today we are going to talk about absolute value equations. This is a topic in Algebra 1. It does show up again in Algebra 2 and further topics, but a little bit different. So this is an Algebra 1 absolute value equations. Let's get right to it. So ideally what we're doing is we're essentially creating this absolute value, and I think I'm going to make it a little bit more bold so that it's visible, so that it doesn't really look like a one. We're taking this absolute value and we're getting it on its own side, on its own, um, so that we can actually remove it from the absolute value. So my first step is I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by -4. And I'm going to end up with 4 plus 10x in the absolute value sign equals 6. So now I know that everything inside this absolute value could equal both positive or -6. And because it could equal both positive and -6, I'm going to take this 4 plus 10x, set it equal to positive 6. And I'm going to do the same thing with this 4 plus 10x and set it equal to -6. Because I know this whole section could be either positive or negative. And then I'm going to solve each one as is. So I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. I'm going to end up with 10x equals 2. Divide both sides by 10. X equals 1/5 simplified. Same business here. I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. I'm going to end up with 10x equals -10. Divide both sides by 10. X equals -1. And that's it. That's the end of that. So I'm still doing the same undoing of equations, if you will, where I have been with all of my equations and inequalities in the past. But in this case, I just want to make sure I take that first step to get the absolute value equations, the absolute value symbols on its own without anything attached to it, just like I did here. Again, the same thing is going to happen here. I'm going to divide both sides by -9. So now I have my absolute value equation. 10 minus 2m in the absolute value is 8. And then I know I can take this 10 minus 2m and set it equal to both positive and -10. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to go 10 minus 2m is positive 8. 10 minus 2m is -8. And then I can go in and subtract 10. Actually, I can do the same step all the way through the entire process. So I'll end up with -2m equals -2. -2m equals -18. Divide everything by -2. End up with m equals 1 and 9. 1 for here, 9 for here. Okay. Same business here. I do want to actually change the problem that the student sent in. I want to make this guy negative so that I can show you something a little bit different. So I know that my first job, my first order of business is going to be, again, this is my absolute value symbol here and here. I know my first job is going to be to divide everything by 3 first. So I will have this absolute value of 8 minus 10b equals -2. So now we know that everything inside this absolute value actually can be either a positive or a negative, right? But when I take positive or -2 inside my absolute values, I know they all equal regular +2. There's no negative involved in my answer. And because an absolute value can't be a negative, right? Because distance is absolute value and distance can't be negative, this cannot equal -2 in order for me to have a real solution. So if I had a -6 here, my answer would be no solution. However, since it is a +2, there is a solution, and we would do the same thing that we've done up until now. I'm going to go ahead and erase this whole business here. It's not really -2. Let's get rid of that. We don't need any of this, and we can go back to, say, here. So then I'm going to end up with 8 minus 10b equals 2. 8 minus 10b equals -2. Subtract 8 from both sides. Go ahead and simplify everything. So this will be -6. Divide everything by -10. B is going to be equal to negative, oh, actually positive because they're both negative, 3/5. And then again, we're going to subtract 8 on both sides. -10b equals -10. Divide -10 on both sides. B equals 1. I feel like we did this a little bit here. Oh no, it's this, that. Okay, I see. They both kind of had this 10 business. Okay, that's why it looked so familiar. Okay. So then we're going to divide both sides by 7 for the purposes of this video. I'm going to double check. I don't think it's, yeah, see, I was wrong. I thought it was not 16, but it is 16. 8x plus 8 in absolute value is equal to 16. So we're going to go ahead and we can, because it's positive 16, it's totally fine. We can set everything up and do the math like we normally would. We'd have this 8x plus 8 equals positive 16, 8x plus 8 equals -16. And then I would, not add 8. I would subtract 8 on both sides. So 8x equals 8. Divide everything by 8. X is 1. Okay. Then subtract 8 again. 8x equals -24. Divide by 8. X equals -3. All right, and there you have it. So this is just one type of absolute value equation. There are other types of absolute value equations where you have things that you're adding to these problems, but these were the 4 that the students sent in. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.